Come with me and follow this little man's journey. He's an absolutely cracking boy, and he's had some exceptional training when he was younger. As he's got older, he's just been overstimulated by the environment, and he's put his focus onto other things in the environment instead of his handler or the job at hand. So I'm going right back to his foundations. This is his first session, and I'm going to be posting up his other videos so you can see his journey and his transition as he goes through. To start with, all I'm doing is going right back to basics with him and just increasing that focus and engagement and starting to get some really good directional luring in. So he's quite polite with his treat taking or his luring. He doesn't want to push into my hand a lot. And for some good steering luring, for some good obedience, I really want him to be pushing into that lure. So I'm just starting him off really, really simply to understand about the position of my hand, how it's going to feel for him, and what I want him to be doing. So he's already trained on a marker system, so we already have that in place, which is absolutely fantastic. So all I'm doing is marking when he's putting the correct amount of pressure into my hand for that treat. And as we go through this session, this was a short session. Obviously, this is cut down from the actual length of the session, but he really started to understand about pushing into my hand for that lure and keeping contact with the hand. With that drive-in lure, I really want to have him with his muzzle right in the palm of my hand so that I can drive his whole body with his head, and I can move him into the positions I want him in through that drive-in lure. So I really want to have that consistent contact with the hand and him almost forcefully pushing into my hand to get that treat, which is in the palm of my hand. And he just was very polite to start with and didn't want to really push into my hand. But as we carried on going through this session, he really started to push into my hand, which meant that I could start to maneuver him around. And anytime my hand moves, even if it moves quite quickly or in a different direction, he started to understand that his head or his muzzle is staying in my hand and his body follows afterwards. And depending on which direction he's going or which direction I'm putting his head in, will then dictate which direction his body goes in for different positions that I want him in or different movement that I'm asking him to go in. So I can then start to really get some focused heel work, really get some focused obedience out of him, and start to change his idea of where he puts his focus so that we can start to work past the distractions which were claiming his focus before and start to have him behaving sensibly, shall we say, in stimulated environments. So all of this foundation work is going to be done in a low stimulating environment, and we're only going to bring those distractions in once I know that he understands the game. I know that he understands what I want from him, and we've got some of that training down. So you can see here he did start to get distracted even in this environment, which is very low stimulating. So it does show how much of his focus is taken away from towards the environment when there are things happening, and there really wasn't anything happening, but the focus still went a little bit. But I'm really pleased with the short sessions that we've done, that the focus that he's offering me is a lot better, and that drive-in lure is really, really getting stronger. And you can see that nose stays with my hand, and that's what I really want, is that the nose, with that force that I'm asking him to push into my hand, it means that his nose and his head stays with my hand for luring into positions, which is going to be fantastic for obedience. It's also going to be really good for our tricks as well. It means that I can steer his body. We always steer from the head, and having that drive-in lure, him really forcing his head into my hand, means that I can get some really good direction on him. So sometimes he does kind of come away from my hand a little bit, but we're getting more often that he's driving into my hand. So after we did some luring work, which we still have some more to do, I just don't want to do too much in the first session with him, I decided to do a few tricks with him. And this is him learning the bow, which he learned really, really well. I am not sure whether he did do this in his previous home or not, but he is starting to get that bow really, really well. And he has a good flexibility, and he's got some good muscles on him. So he's in a really good condition to be learning these tricks and to be able to move his body into those positions. So really, really pleased with his first go at trick training. I'm sure he's going to make an absolutely great trick dog as well. I'm really excited to see how far his tricks can go. So after we'd done a few little tricks, nothing too, no pressure on him for this, just to see what we could get out of him and to make the session a bit more interesting, decided to try and put in a stand for a little bit of obedience as well. And he really took to learning different things. And he's got a nice sprightly step, so I think his obedience is going to be really, really nice as well. And he, like I said, he does learn things really, really quickly. And because we've got that lure starting, that nice driving lure starting, he's starting to understand that his body is moving as my hands go. And so join along for his journey and let's see how far he goes.